Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs Podcast. Today is May 1st. Happy May Day, everyone. It's Dan and Andy here. We're on Season 2, Episode number 23. Once again, it's May 1st, 2021. We're doing the episode here today. I'm remote. Andy's outside. And we're starting off the month of May, not in the normal studios, but boy, it's going to be nice today, hitting 81 degrees, I believe.
We'll be grilling tonight, boy.
Grilling tonight. So we've got NFL draft, we've got baseball news, we've got minor league baseball news, we've got college FCS sports news, we've got the trivia question and album of the week, and the person of the week. Big show today.
Well, a little of everything. But before we get going here, how about we start off with a trivia question, then I'll dive into my bag of stuff.
Here's the trivia question. And we're going to tie this in with both baseball and football because it's a big week for both with the draft. On this weekend in 1983 at the NFL draft, 1983, the Baltimore Colts made a draft pick. Their number one draft pick, was currently playing, or was actually an outfielder in the minor league farm system for the New York Yankees. Who was that player? Outfielder for the New York Yankees in the minor leagues, Class A, was drafted by the Baltimore, not Indianapolis, but Baltimore Colts, with the very first number one overall pick in the 1983 draft. Who was that player?
Wow. Do not know. We'll find out later.
Find out later, right before we do the musical segment. We'll touch on that.
I do remember Dave Wingfield of the Gophers was a top pick for football, basketball, and baseball.
And I think Bud Grant played, three-sport standout as well, but Winfield was very good. Bo Jackson, a lot of these guys were two-sport athletes and were very good, and many were, drafted as well.
Which you don't see two-sport athletes in major colleges anymore.
Not anymore. They all focus from a young age. They put the blinders on and just do one thing and become very good at it.
Even in high school.
Either good or bad. There's pros and cons to doing that, but yeah, you don't see that much anymore. What have you got for us on sports today? Yes.
High school, you don't even see it. I remember back when we were in high school, especially at Minnetonka, and so if I'm wrong, alumni, correct me on this. Our baseball team, was basically the football and hockey players who wanted access to the weight room, so they played baseball. But that's kind of the way it goes in a lot of schools. That's the way it was back then. A couple of things we can start off here. Non-big sports, non-baseball football stuff. This weekend, NASCAR's got the Quicker State 400 presented by Walmart at the Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend. Big weekend last weekend for NASCAR at Talladega. Brad Keselowski, last couple laps, wins because of crashes and everything else. Got a chance to go back and watch the end of that, go ahead. Quicker State this weekend. And also NASCAR might do something kind of celebrating. This would have been the 70th for Dale Earnhardt Sr. So they might do a little something special for him. Watch that. NBC and the NHL. This is the last year of the NHL contract with NBC. They're splitting. And if you recall, long story longer, Peacock, which is the app for NBC, bought part of the WWE package for wrestling stuff. Hence, therefore, WWE said, we're going to take our NXT show and move it to Tuesdays because NHL has this contract for games on Wednesday nights. So they moved to Tuesday. Fine. Everybody thought, it's because AEW is beating them in the ratings. No, it's because of the hockey contract. Funny, be careful what you chat out. Turner Sports signed a contract with the NHL now, which means they'll be on TNT, which is where AEW is. So they might have to move nights now next year. And also AEW this year might be moving nights during the NBA playoffs. So they kind of got cocky and were popping off about, look at us, we made them move nights. No, sadly hockey did. So careful what you chant about and make fun of other people for. Speaking of the said AEW, Tony Khan owns AEW, and him and his father are also owners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, in my opinion, made a couple good moves this week in the NFL draft. They got Trevor Lawrence, number one pick, big shocker. But They also signed another former Heisman Trophy quarterback to a tight end to work as a tight end, a guy named Tim Tebow, former New York Met outfielder or minor league outfielder. Now, here's my look on that. The Cons aren't idiots. There's a reason they have $1 billion. Okay, they've made smart moves. They've got a new coach this year, college coach coming in. So why not get Tebow in as a, like we've said before, the veteran players in a way, the player coach to work with Trevor Lawrence? Is that what the signing is? And instead of saying Tebow's the backup for pressure on that, Tebow's a horse. He played minor league ball, so he's still in shape. It's like he's been eating donuts and just doing NFL college football analysis stuff. He's been in shape. There was rumors for the last few years teams wanted him to come in as a running back or tight end or kickoff return. He said, nope, I like to do the baseball thing. He gave up on baseball. And I'm pretty sure the Cons were in his ear before that. He comes in, he can be the player coach in a way, be a third string tight end or something like that, or run the Wildcat every now and then because like that won't draw fans. So I think if Tebow does sign with the Jags, that would be a smart move on their part. Very smart move. More NFL draft stuff. Trey Lance, Bison, number 3 pick to the 49ers. Not a big shock. We covered that a couple months ago here. We said that. Once that about Trey Lance, I didn't know. Like we said before, I said this on Friday's show. I do a Friday football on Instagram. Trey Lance hasn't played the last few weeks. He missed the marker game against the Jackrabbits, which the Jackrabbits won pretty handily. Trey Lance has been in pro workouts, doing games. I thought, the playoffs would be a great format for that, but I could see their point on it. It's kind of like college players don't want to play in the tournament if they think they can be drafted for basketball. Same idea. Trey Lance in college, now remember, the quarterbacks run a lot where he is. So he wasn't a drop back passer like Peyton Manning was or Tom Brady. He had legs that could run, so he did. 287 attempts he made passing in college. 0 interceptions. NCAA record for most attempts with no interceptions. So I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for any kid like that. They come out of college with these huge numbers. One of his first 5 passes is going to be an interception in the pros. It's just in the cards. That's the way it works, These kids who, I was undefeated in high school and I was undefeated 2 years in college, and then they go 2-14 in the NFL. Just keep your head up, because that's what happened with Peyton Manning. He came in, he got crushed that first couple of years, but look how it worked out for him. You just got to be patient. So good luck to him on that. Some other news and notes I got for the draft. Dylan Reyes, offensive tackle from the Bison, went number 53 to the Tennessee Titans. Rashad Bateman, of course, of the Gophers, went 27th in the first round to the Baltimore Ravens. Another Gopher, Benjamin St. Justice, cornerback, went to the Washington football team. And he was at number 74. And at number 98, Quinn Menierez, center, went to the New Orleans Saints from Wisconsin Whitewater, a Division III school. And he went number 98 pick, center. This man, 6'3", 320 pounds. He's okay. They didn't play this year because of the COVID stuff, but his last game they lost the 2019 Division III championship to North Central. So if you look at back Division III, Wisconsin Whitewater, they're up there all the time. So he's been on good teams. I think it's another good move for the Saints like that. Not picking a Division III guy, but you're coming in with a new quarterback the next year or two, have a new center then also. They can work together. They can grow together. It's like when you have a new baby, you get a puppy. They can grow up together. He's 6'3", 320. I'm not going to call him the puppy on this one. So big horse, but that's a good move. You got you draft a young center. You're going to give you another quarterback if they don't go with Justin Winston this year or whoever they pick up. So good move on their part there. That's that's my NFL notes. Did you have any notes on the draft there, sir, before we go into baseball?
I was on mute. The Friday or what was it? Thursday was the first round draft. All the first round picks. Friday was rounds 2 and 3. Vikings picked up an offensive tackle, a guard, a linebacker, a quarterback, and they made some good picks. Like you said, Rashad Bateman was selected in the first round by the Ravens, and now today is rounds 4 through 7, and so it'll go quicker. They got 5 minutes in between each pick, and then the final rounds, I think it's just 4 minutes, 4 minutes in between picks. So that should go relatively quickly. And now next week we'll do a cover on the show, Andy, is the very last person taken in the draft is always the what's the phrase? No, not the steal of the draft. What's the most irrelevant?
Oh, the sleeper. The sleeper.
The final pick is always someone they track and kind of make fun of because of the final overall pick, and sometimes that person does well, sometimes they don't. But it's kind of the Mr. Irrelevant, I think they call this person. But we'll cover that in the next week's show. But a full day of draft picks. So it's held in Cleveland this year. Next year it's in Las Vegas, and I think they're onto something there with bringing the fans in. They're opening that up, and they can cheer. It's an outside area. Kind of a tent deal, and it's kind of what I call it kicks off the NFL season. This draft gets everyone excited, and then camp opens up in July, and then we're off and running. But it should be interesting. The other big news was the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers saying he wasn't interested in coming back and wants to play somewhere else. So that's something to watch for as well. Thinking he may go to the Broncos. But yeah, the Trey Lance was a good pick going to the 49ers. Number 3 overall pick. Many had him picked at that number 4 spot. So it was a little bit of a surprise moving up to 3, but he's a talented guy, and he's got the pedigree. You know, he's got the father played the NFL.
He's a Minnesota boy.
CFL. He's from Marshall. He was one of the outstanding quarterbacks there at Marshall, and one of the reasons they went to the state for a couple of years everywhere. They were in that same section with Jordan. Jordan High School had some very good football teams, but they could never get past Marshall. I think they only beat them maybe one time in the postseason in a span of 3 or 4 years. So tough matchups. Marshall, very good, top recruit, and like you said, he did not get any big offers to play quarterback from the big schools. They were all interested in drafting him, but to say as long as you switch positions, because you'll never make it as a college quarterback. And now here he is, the top, one of the top quarterbacks in the entire draft. And so he went to the smaller school, played quarterback, and did very well. And now
that's any smaller school that was winning national championships. It was some school, Mankato State or Winona, who's like, what do we got to lose? This was a team that was a national championship winner and contender every year. Put their eggs in his basket. And getting back to Aaron Rodgers, like I was talking online to someone this week, Aaron Rodgers wants to go to Denver because he wants to do what Peyton Manning did and Tom Brady did, but Favre never did. That's 2 championships with 2 teams. Say what you will, Aaron Rodgers, nice guy, did a good job hosting Jeopardy. Maybe that's his future when LeVar Burton's done with it, whatever. Aaron Rodgers has an ego bigger than the All Outdoors. I don't care what anyone says. He doesn't let it show a lot, except on stuff like this. I want to go elsewhere. Why? You're 12-4 every year. Do what Dan Marino did in his career all the time, although it didn't work for him. Take less money so they can put money to other people. That's what you need. Quit whining how you need other people, but give me more money. You can't get other people when you get all the money, son. That's how that goes.
The interesting thing is with the Packers quarterback situation is going back when Brett Favre was on his decline before he was almost done. The Packers went and drafted number 1 first round pick Aaron Rodgers, and so Favre felt shafted by that by what he's saying. You know, I can see the writing on the wall here. I'm going to be done soon. Well, it is what it is. He stayed there, retired and unretired a couple times. But Aaron Rodgers had to ride the bench for 2-3 seasons before he was able to get the starting job. So he felt shafted. Now he's got the starting job, done well in his career. He's on the back end of his career. Last year, the Packers draft a quarterback. Well, he kind of takes exception to that, which you could or not, but you were also in that same position yourself. So you got to be able to see it both ways. Now he wants to leave. Like I said, they go 12-4 every year. they're in the playoffs. Why mess with anything? Yes, they're drafting quarterbacks. They'll need them for down the road, but that's not now a reason for you to leave.
Right.
You are the guy, and yes, he's got a big ego. He can back it up. They do very well, but it's a tough situation because you have all these opinions coming into play when all you need to do is just sit back and play the game. You don't have to worry about all these things. But yeah, if you go somewhere else, then you're learning a whole new system and everything else. But it is what it is. It's a nasty thing. But who knows if these guys pan out or not? I know that the top two, I think, college quarterbacks of all time. One was Ryan Leaf. Another one on paper was Christian Ponder. They did all the work, all the paperwork to make sure they would do well in the NFL format after becoming very good college stars. And they fizzled out. Ryan Leaf was one of the biggest busts, and Christian Ponder of all time as far as wasting a first-round pick. But
Marinovich.
Yeah, Marinovich. So you get these guys, and you never know that intangible. You can do all the homework you want. There's an intangible there that you have to guess on.
Or who was the guy the Raiders took? That had the purple drink, the guy who gained all the weight.
Oh,
Jarvis or something. We'll cover that later. But yeah, for Buff.
Yeah, so you never know. You're always taking a chance, and sometimes a guy like a Tom Brady, who was drafted in the 6th or 7th round out of Michigan, kind of to be the Patriots' backup, ends up becoming the greatest of all time. So you never know. You can do all the homework you want, but you never know how it's going to translate. Trey Lance, I think, is a gifted athlete. I think he'll do well, but he could be a bust. Who knows? I think that he'll be a guy that's going to do very well, and kind of a plug and play can get him in and start running the show because of his smarts, his IQ, and his genetics, his genes. I mean, the guy's a gifted guy.
Jamarcus Russell's the guy's name.
Oh yes. Now the other one of the didn't pan out. Now the Vikings drafted a linebacker from North Carolina, Tar Heel.
Yep.
That came into the draft or came into college as a great quarterback, and was a prospect. They switched him to linebacker, but you never know how they're going to fit and what position they're going to play because of their height, weight, and their skill set. But the linebacker the Vikings got was a former quarterback in high school.
You see a lot of players, especially in baseball, change positions from what they're drafted in high school to the minors to the pros. A lot of shortstops become pitchers, or pitchers become outfielders. In football, you see it once in a while. Randall L., wide receiver for the Steelers, was a great quarterback in Indiana. They go to the NFL, make him a wide receiver. You hear that every now and then, some of those guys. We'll see. Is Trey Lance going to move to wide receiver? No. He's a quarterback. Now, if something happens in the first couple of years, he's still sitting on the bench on the clipboard, maybe. Is he going to be what was his name? They call him, is he going to be a receiver every now and then? Like the guy for the Saints who does receive sometimes, quarterbacks, always in for the wild. Who knows? But with Tom Brady, like you said with Tom Brady, when he was at Michigan, they kind of did a platoon thing when they played. They'd switch quarterbacks on each drive sometimes, or throughout the game, they'd switch quarterbacks back and forth. So it's not like he was the starter for 4 years, put up great numbers, and followed him to the pros. Now, did him playing halftime in college help him get a 20-year career in NFL? Who knows?
The last thing I was going to say as far as switching positions, the Gophers had a quarterback, Marquise Gray. He was a very good quarterback, and actually was drafted, I think, by the 49ers as a tight end. And lasted a couple of years. I don't know how long he lasted, but you never know with these guys. Now, what I do like about the Vikings draft pick of their quarterback, they picked a guy from Texas A&M. Now, the thing I like about him, he's in a tough conference, playing tough games, and was a 4-year starter. 4-year starter in a tough league. Talk about experience and a leader on the field. That's a great guy to have on your team. Put up some big numbers, too. But you're going up against some big teams, powerhouse teams, week in and week out in that conference, and so I think this will be a good guy, good quarterback to pick.
Well, and that's the weird thing in college football. You always hear this. Well, they drafted this college quarterback who was in a pro-style offense at his college team, who went 5-5 every year, but he's a top-round pick. because he knows the pro format, which shows you the pro format don't work in college. That's why they're different games. But yeah, just because how many Alabama quarterbacks make it pro? They're in the national championship all the time. You figure the league would be flooded with guys from the Tide. They're all linemen. Offensive, defensive linemen. So college football quarterbacks do not win games in college. It's the other guys. And one other thing I noticed in the draft this year, I don't follow the NFL that tightly where I know all the little ins and outs. So a lot of guys drafted a position of edge. I guess with all different defensive schemes, you're not an outside linebacker or left, you're now edge. So that means you can play both sides, maybe both right and left, maybe, I don't know, but you're edge now.
Yeah, I think that came about last year or the year before. It's a fairly new thing, but Vikings picked one last night. But their position is called edge now, so that's a new thing.
Yeah. Baseball. We're getting into bases here. Summer Olympics coming up, and baseball is being played in the Summer Olympics this year. Here's the way the format is there's 6 national teams that qualify for the Olympics. The sport, like I said, is going to have a tournament type format. I was going to go over the tournament format and how it's all set up, but you know what? With COVID, there may only be 5 teams, or maybe 7 teams, who knows? So I wasn't going to bore you with those stats, have you learn them, know them, memorize them, and change it in 3 weeks. As we get closer to the Olympics, we'll go over the actual format. Teams have to qualify in there. Pretty sure USA will qualify for the America's Cup or America's division. Some teams, Japan, because they're hosting it, you automatically get a team in. That's it when you host the Olympics. No matter what the event, your team's in automatically. Which kind of Olympics have been held in the States. Olympics, like for Winter Olympics, like in Russia and stuff like that. I'm not going to say they're skewed because, Russia got an athlete in every event. The U.S. got an athlete in every event. We almost get an athlete in every event no matter where it is. So, big deal. So I'm not worried about that. But the WBSC, World Baseball Council they're excited if you want to follow more teams, the tournaments as they're coming up, this and that. That should be very exciting, very interesting how it's coming up for that. One other thing for baseball, a couple things. Jacob deGrom had a bad start the other day for him. Gave up 1 run, lost the game 1-0. Struck out 6, great number. It's just he's 2-2 on the year. But you know what? You still got to put up there for Cy Young because, like we said before, Carlton won it. He won 20 games for a team that won 60 all year. Nolan Ryan's been 8-16 and been top 5 for ERA. Wins and losses are important for baseball, for pitchers. But look at the other stats in the lines for some of these guys. Some of the other pitchers on there, which we'll get to later. You got to look past the wins and losses for some of these numbers these guys are putting up. It's unreal. For some pitching stats in Major League Baseball, so far this year, there's been 14 complete games, 10 shutouts. And that includes Madison Bumgarner, who's credited for a complete game shutout, but they won't give him credit for his no-hitter because it was only 7 innings in the second half of the doubleheader. Wait a minute, Major League Baseball. You said the game could only be 7 innings. You gave him credit for a complete game. You gave him credit for a shutout, but they won't give him the no-hitter credit. Now, I see if it's a rain-shortened game, it only goes 6 or 8 innings. It's rain-shortened. Well, if it wasn't scheduled for 6 or 8 innings, I can kind of see that. Or you put the asterisk going, hey, the game was rain-shortened, so you know why he only had so many innings. I get that reason for the asterisk. Baseball says this game's only scheduled for 7. It goes 7. That's a no-hitter. And the thing in that game, Arizona, he's pitching for Arizona now. There's an update in case you missed it in the offseason. Arizona beat Atlanta that game. And the first game of the doubleheader, the pitcher for Arizona gave up 1 hit. So Atlanta had 1 hit in 14 innings. I would not want to be at that practice or film session the next day for the Atlanta hitters, So that's that. Like I said, this year, 14 games, 10 shutouts. Last year, in the COVID season, there was 29 complete games, 12 shutouts by 11 players. Trevor Bauer had 2 of them. So that was only in a 60-game season. So if you want to kind of like, okay, where are 60 games kind of compared to that? So a lot of people are going, we're getting more complete games this year because the pitchers are more rested from a short season. All right, let's compare apples to apples and go back to 2019. There was 45 complete games in 2019 for a full season and 26 shutouts. So that's kind of what I want to compare this year to 2019. Now, granted, they're coming off a short season this year, but it's more of a fair comparison, I think. So we'll see. Like I said, in 2019, there's 45 complete games. 2 guys had 3 of them. 7 had 2. And then there's 25 guys with each one. Shutouts, 3 guys had 2, and 20 guys had 1. But like we've said before, pitchers don't go complete games very much anymore. A lot of those complete games you look up were towards the tail end of the season, or it was a guy who was called up in September whose arm was fresh, and they said, what the hell, let him go. So that's where that is. So watch those pitchers' numbers. They're starting to go longer now this year. It's not the whole 5 innings done, 6 innings done, put in 3, 4 relievers. And I think the rule change of a reliever has to face 3 batters has affected that. Because you can't go through 7 relievers in a game for 2 innings, you know. So you're going to see starters going longer. That's going to take time, though, because they got to get reconditioned. They've been conditioned since A-ball to go 6 innings. So that it's going to change in baseball, kind of get back to the other way, which I liked. I like seeing these old stats. You see his numbers come up. Hey, here's so-and-so's record from 278 innings in one season or something like that. And you just don't see that anymore. So hopefully we'll get back to those numbers. Like we said before, the All-Star game for Major League Baseball. We got moved to Denver, where the Colorado Rockies play. It'll be July 13th. It was supposed to be in Atlanta, but because of political reasons, we'll just leave it there. They moved the game out of Atlanta. I have emailed the Colorado Rockies going, hey, when do you guys plan to be at full capacity? And I've got crickets so far. Because I emailed them the same day the Atlanta Braves came out and said, effective May 7th, we want to be and will be at 100% capacity. Now, if you look at your calendar, that's May 7th. The All-Star game is July 13th. They could have had a full capacity in that stadium for the All-Star game. Denver right now is only holding 25 to 50% of the people there. That's money lost. Atlanta, I think, is kind of pushing this in a way, too, to go back to MLB going, look how much money you cost us. We could have filled that stadium. And now we get nothing. These businesses could have had full stadium people, and now they get nothing. So I don't know if there's going to be a lawsuit in there somewhere or something. I'm sure someone's drawing one up. We'll see. For more principle than anything else, that was stupid. But we'll see how that goes. Kind of curious how that works. And, of course, being the Mets fan I am, I got to bring up last night's game. It was a game for first place when both teams were below 500. I thought this division would have teams with, combined 10 losses by now. And no, they really have 15 wins between everybody. I don't know. They're all below 500 going into yesterday's game. The Phillies were ahead. Jose Alvarado of the Phillies strikes out Dom Smith. Runners on second and third. Tying go-ahead runs on. 8th inning. I get it. It's an emotional game. It's in Philadelphia. You're pumped. It's for first place. Rival teams. I get all that. Earlier in the at-bat, Dom Smith called time, claimed he had something in his eye, contact issue, whatever. You see that all the time. Was he trying to mess with the pitcher to throw off his timing? Did he really have something in his eye? Dom Smith and God are the only two who know that. We'll never know, and in my opinion, it doesn't matter. That's part of the game. How many times did Nomar Garcia power fixes wristbands and elbow pads all the time? Anyway, Smith strikes out swinging, and the pitcher gets all excited and pumped. I got no problem with that. Even against the Mets, by the hated Phillies, I got no problem with that. But don't go showing up the batter like that. You start pointing at the batter and showing him up. Don't show him up. That's why the bench was cleared. When a hitter hits a home run off a pitcher, when Tatis covered his eye, the other guy had an okay time with it. He got it. I guess if the pitcher and batter are friendly, you can kind of rib them that way. But Jeffrey Leonard with the flap down thing, or you're trying to mock the pitcher on a home run, I don't like that. You point to your own bench and get everybody pumped up going, hey, I hit a home run. That's fine. Don't show up the pitcher, don't show up the batter. In this game today with the Mets and Phillies, I guarantee someone gets hit in the first couple innings. Oops, fastball got away right between the numbers. Because that's baseball. Some guys don't like it. Too bad. Welcome to baseball. Major League Baseball, one of their like they like to do for all sports, as we're a quarter of the way through. Here's our MVP candidates for the year so far. I'm going to cover National League. Dan will take American League. For National League, here's who they had so far. Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Atlanta Braves on there, who played in Australia 2 years ago, so tip of the cap to the ABL. They have Jacob deGrom on there, Bryce Harper, Justin Turner, and Fernando Tatis Jr. I got a problem with the Fernando Tatis Jr. one. MVP means most valuable player. Doesn't mean who's got the biggest paychecks. Doesn't mean who's hitting the most home runs. If Tatis can somehow get locked out of his head that your job as shortstop is to throw the ball to first safely, not just in general. So I think he's got like 9 errors on year or something, on real number like that. MVP should be all-around player, not just who's got all the home runs. So Tatis is a problem for me on there. I got a problem with deGrom on there too. I don't like pitchers for MVP. You have Cy Young, that's your thing. Now I get it. Sometimes if you're 28-0 or some unreal number, yes. If you've been like a stopper all year, yes. Early in the season, you can't put a pitcher up there. It's early in the season. But here's my list for MVPs for National League. Yes, I agree with Acuna Jr. of the Braves. I agree he should be on there. Batting .341, 8 homers, 18 RBIs, 3 stolen bases. Jesse Walker of the Reds. He's batting .370 with 6 home runs and 16 RBIs. Keep an eye on him. He's going to be a fun player to watch. I have him in my top 5 MVP right now. As much as it hurts to say, Chris Bryant of the Cubs. Third baseman, batting .322, 7 home runs, 19 RBIs. He's quietly having a nice year. Turner for the Dodgers, yes. He's putting up great numbers. I agree with that. And then here's some other names on that. Okay, deGrom. I'll give you deGrom. We'll throw pitchers in there. I got 3 pitcher candidates. deGrom. Corbin Burns of the Brewers. He's 2-2 with a 1.53 ERA, 49 Ks, 0 walks. I'll say that again. 49 Ks, 0 walks. If you follow that, he's been setting records for most innings since the start of the season without a walk, most innings without a walk. And the Brewers are doing great this year too, so got to watch that too. Your top team and whoever's going to win it, usually their star pitchers listed up there. So that's that. And also, Darvish of the Chargers. Wow, the Padres, San Diego Padres. He's 3-1 with a 2.13 ERA and 49 Ks this year. So that's that. Before I give it to Dan, I'll just give you the list of the American League ones. American League, they got listed Mike Trout, J.D. Martinez, Byron Buxton, Mercedes of the White Sox, and Shinsei Ohado of the Angels. Ohado, I probably pronounced that wrong. I apologize. The guy who's the pitcher outfielder for the Angels, we've talked about him. Oh. They have him listed as outfielder.
Ohtani.
Or MVP. Ohtani, that's it. I can't read my own scribble here. Ohtani, yeah. And he's been doing okay. I think he's their 5 starter or something. He's not the ace of the staff, but he's doing well when he pitches too, don't get me wrong. But that's their 5. Who did you have?
For the American League, I stripped out pitchers.
Okay.
I just went everyday players. And here's my 5. J.D. Martinez, Boston. Yep. He's way up there in slugging percentage, runs scored, RBI, good numbers. Yerman Mercedes, White Sox, Mercedes. And he's up there. His average slugging percentage and the number of hits are way above in the American League. Big numbers. I got 2 guys from the Angels, Mike Trout, and mainly because of his average.
Right.
And Ohtani, because of his total bases. That guy is racking up some huge numbers in total bases. And then to round out the top 5 is Vlad Guerrero Jr., Toronto. And for him, it's mainly because of his average. Now, I also took guys that qualified. So I didn't have Byron Buxton on the list. He doesn't qualify for a number of at-bats yet to even be in the pool, but he's having a great season. But those are my 5. Honorable mention, I've got 2. Nate Lowe and Kyle Seager.
Okay. And you talked about
I've got for AL MVPs.
Martinez wouldn't be having this great season if they didn't get rid of Mookie Betts a couple years ago. But yeah, he's putting up Mookie Betts type numbers. And just think how good the Dodgers would be. Back in 2012, there was a rumored trade in the minor leagues of Jacob deGrom going to the Red Sox. The Mets almost got rid of deGrom to the Red Sox for a catcher. Can you imagine what the Red Sox would have been when they had Mookie Betts, but they had deGrom on that staff too, or even now still, their offense they got? Holy cow. One more baseball thing here before I wrap it up. Tyler Glasgow's mom is my person of the week. You'll see her on our Facebook page. You won't hear her rant, but Tyler's a nice young pitcher, like most kids. Gets excited during a game, which, like we talked about earlier, I got no problem showing emotion. Yay, fist pumps, whatever. You got to watch what you say when you're a professional. I don't care if you're a professional athlete, professional businessman. You're out in the public eye. You got to watch yourself. Now, granted, I'm not making fun of him for adjusting his cup. That's part of the game. If you get caught on camera doing that, who hasn't? He's pitching. You always see a pitcher when the outfield makes a great diving catch. They give him a point and a fist pump or something like that. He used words that I can't repeat because Pastor watches this show, so I'll just let it go at that. Not safe for work words, they'll say. So he did that. The camera caught him saying potty mouth words. After the game, he got a text from his mom saying, "You got to stop cussing on TV," she says. "Cover your mouth or something." Now, I'm sure more players have gotten that, but for him to come out and say it in the press conference afterwards, kind of making fun of himself, giving mom a little love, and it wasn't Mother's Day weekend, it just shows you that these guys get caught up in stuff. I'm not saying that he should be fined or anything for it. No, that's emotion that's caught up in the game. Like I said, we have it on our Facebook page. You can see his post-game interview talking about it. The one I have to say on this, and this was no work to his mom. It's the mom's fault. If Tyler says the word "like" every third word in his post-game interview, and that's just, I guess, that generation and my generation not figuring out why he can't speak. With that said, though, he cussed. You see a lot of players cussing. And the fun thing is about it right now, like in the Twins game last night, Arise got nailed in the back of the pitch. And it was quiet when it happened, and he didn't say ouch. Let's just put it that way. You hear that every now and then. That's going to happen. That I got no problem with. That you've never dropped something on your toe in the shed and said something besides ouch? We all have. You haven't been excited playing a sport with your buddies or in high school or college if you played? We all have. But if you're on national TV, you got to kind of remember that camera's on you all the time. I don't care that he said it. It doesn't bother me. As long as it doesn't become his thing now where every time there's a great play, they show him to see if he swears. I just hope that doesn't become a thing for him now where they are looking for that. That's just my opinion. That's my thing. One more thing before we go back for the trivia answer. Concerts are opening up again at Medina. You can check their website for their Thursday shows on the patio. A lot of their shows going up. A lot of great bar shows coming up. We're trying to plug a lot of those on the page as well. If you have a band that plays at bars, you want us to give you a little love, a little push, let us know on the Facebook page. Send us a message, and we will be more than happy to help publicize your stuff. Your trivia answer, sir, was about the NFL draft. Or question was about the draft. I hope the answer was about the draft, too.
The question was, in 1983, the number one overall pick by the Baltimore Colts was a player that was currently playing minor league baseball for the Yankees in Class A as an outfielder. The question was, who was that player? The answer is John Elway. John Elway, right. Selected by the Baltimore Colts, number one, never played for them, traded in a deal to get to the Broncos where he spent 16 seasons before he retired. Very good football player. He came out of Stanford. Very good. But the problem was he's also a very good baseball player. He played for the Stanford baseball team, and then in between was drafted right out of high school. He was drafted by the Kansas City Royals in the 18th round. He said, "No, not interested. I'm going to go play football at Stanford." Played 2 years, and then after his junior year, was drafted by the Yankees. And so he says he didn't play that first year. Next year it comes out and he says, "I'm going to play to help leverage his stock for the NFL because he came out and said he wasn't going to play for the Baltimore Colts. He said, I'll get drafted by them, but I'm not going to play for them. So you better find me another home somewhere else, or else I'll just play baseball. So he was an outfielder with the Yankees. And by doing this trivia, I was researching it yesterday, all the things that happened. And I actually went on eBay for $5.99, Andy. I bought his his minor league baseball card. John Elway with a Yankees uniform playing outfield in 1983 it was. And so he was in the minor leagues Class A. But yeah, drafted by the Royals and drafted by the Yankees. So pitchers, NFL players do get drafted. In fact, it was, I think, 83 or 84, Dan Marino was drafted in the 4th round by the Kansas City Royals. Never played baseball, but you get some of these guys that are so good, so tremendous that they try to get the rights to them, like a Bo Jackson, in case they ever change their mind, you've got the rights to them. But if it doesn't pan out, you're wasting a draft pick. But in baseball, you've got 40 draft picks, so you're not really wasting too much. In football, there's 7 rounds, so that's it.
Sometimes you trade the rights to that player, so that could work out for you too.
Yeah, so very interesting. But John Elway on this weekend in 1983 was drafted, and he was an outfielder for the Yankees.
Fun fact about Elway, if my math is correct, my calendar counting is correct, the infamous football game with Stanford with the band on the field, he was part of that Stanford team.
Yes. That was that infamous game with the final touchdown on the
Hail
Hail
band
Mary.
is on the field. Yeah.
The band came on as they thought the game was over, and then they ran it in and scored the touchdown in the midst of all the band members. So Elway, very interesting. And he got a degree in economics from Stanford, and that's why you see him owning steakhouses and car dealerships. And now he's the president of football operations for the Broncos. Very smart guy.
I know some folks out in the Denver area, kind of like around here in the mid-'80s with Harmon Killebrew. You don't say bad things about John Elway out there without
looked at very highly.
Yep.
I got 2 more sports notes before I drop into the album of the week. Today, May 1st, is the speaking of football, the FCS series. I know the final 8, the Elite 8, are going to be playing tomorrow, single elimination. And then the following week is down to the final 4. But there's the title game for the Southwestern Athletic Conference, the SWAC. The SWAC is today. That'll be at 2 p.m. on ESPN2 today, the title game. Alabama A&M versus University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. And if you get a chance to watch that, it's 2 teams that are not in the big news, big conference, power conferences. But for FCS, both of these teams average 35 points of offense a game. And in their conference, in the SWAC conference, it's going to feature University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. They've got the player that leads the entire league in all-purpose yardage, and Alabama A&M has the league's passing yardage leader for A&M, and they're going to be facing off head-to-head today. Once again, ESPN2, 2 p.m. kickoff, and they take that title game pretty seriously. And once again, they opted out of the NCAA Sweet 16 tournament. They're not playing in that. They're going to do their own thing today, and then the season will be done. So I wanted to add,
is a 3-point favorite.
Are they?
A&M's a 3-point favorite.
That'll be a good game, but look for high scoring, lots of action. And the other thing is minor league baseball kicks off here within the week. AAA and I believe AA and Class A all kick off Tuesday, May 4th this coming week. And so we're going to get minor league baseball kicking off. For the Twins, it'll be St. Paul Saints. They start the season on the road, but those games kick off. They all play, I think it's a 120-game season in minor league baseball. And so for sitting out a year, these players will be able to get back in the rhythm of things. And the fans can go out and watch these games, whether it's half capacity, quarter capacity, or full. They can watch the minor league baseball that they haven't for a while. The St. Paul Saints announced new uniforms yesterday as well.
Yeah, pictures of that on the Facebook page.
Yes.
Yes.
That's all I've got for sports.
Another thing, like I said, double back, like I said before, go back to the Instagram page. You'll see my football predictions for the FCS playoffs this weekend. So catch it after this, see how right or wrong I am. See how much I really know. What is in that Sony Discman of yours this weekend, sir?
Well, this week it's the album of the week. Album review is 1975 album Alive by Kiss. Yeah, yes,
You should almost call this the 8-track of the week.
It's a live album, but it's also called Alive. Here is the cover, and here's where I've got this picked. I've got this picked a very interesting album. Alive is the first live album and fourth overall by American hard rock band Kiss. It is considered to be their breakthrough and a landmark for live albums. It was released on September 10th, 1975. It's a double disc set that contains live versions of selected tracks from their first 3 studio albums. Their first 3 studio albums were called Kiss, their debut, just self-titled Kiss, and then Hotter Than Hell, and then Dressed to Kill. The title pays homage to a 1972 live album from Slade called Alive. Slade was a band that heavily influenced Kiss, and they called their album Alive, so that's where they got this from. Now, Alive was recorded over 4 stops on the tour called Dressed to Kill Tour. One of those was Cobo Arena in Detroit. One was Cleveland Music Hall in Cleveland. One was in Davenport, Iowa, and one was in New Jersey. The album is a 78-minute double album, comprises 16 songs from the band's first 3 albums. We got to keep in mind that those first 3 albums for Kiss didn't sell. They hardly sold at all. They weren't even doing well. I mean, Kiss put out 3 albums, and I think at that point they haven't even started to receive their royalties back from money on the sales of those albums. So they thought, let's do a live album, get the money out there, and then all these previous albums started selling again. The live performances featured elaborate setups. For example, during the song 100,000 Years, crew members used flamethrowers to engulf the stage in a ring of fire, and Peter Criss's drum kit rose high above the other band members. This is way before Tommy Lee was doing his shows. This was 1975, the drum kit, the riser for the drum kit. So Alive peaked at number 9 in the Billboard 200 charts, stayed on the charts for 110 weeks, by far the longest in the band's history. Rolling Stone mentions this on the list of 500 greatest albums of all time. And then in Guitar World magazine, it was placed on number 26 of the magazine's list of top 100 greatest guitar albums of all time. On the same magazine, Guitar World places it number 3 on their list of top 10 live albums of all time. This is number 3. This is an album that should be in possession of every rock fan. Every song here is good, and it's nice because they've got 16 songs on the album. Here's the song listings: Deuce, Strutter, Got to Choose, Hotter Than Hell, Firehouse. And they move on to Nothing to Lose, Come On and Love Me, Parasite, She. And then after that, we get into Watching You, 100,000 Years, Black Diamond, which is sung by Peter Criss. And then the final 4 songs is Rock Bottom, Cold Gin, Rock and Roll All Night, and Let Me Go, Rock and Roll. So you get 16 albums, 16 songs, 1 album. It's a double CD, straight through. It's some good stuff. The band members are Gene Simmons on bass, Peter Criss drums, Paul Stanley vocals and rhythm guitar, and Ace Frehley, who doesn't sing on this entire album, but does some backing vocals, plays lead guitar. And this is a very heavy lead guitar album review. It's, like I said, it's a top 10 of guitar albums of all time. Very good stuff here. Very good stuff. But that's what I've got for our review of the day, 1975 Kiss. And like I said, it started selling all their albums. It helped the sales of the other albums as well, because they needed something to jumpstart. And there was no bands doing live very
Right.
rare was live albums was not a big thing. But what you saw after this album was bands doing it, and boy, putting together a live album. But this was very influential for me as well. They did all the pyrotechnics, all the theater. They said in an interview is all those things that don't come across on a studio album. And Kiss was known for their live performances, so they needed a way to capture the live performance of what they do. And it's anyone who has been to a Kiss show to see them live, it is a wow factor. It's you come out of there wowed, and so they captured that.
And you talk about how they recorded the live album, how that wasn't done. One of the biggest, not in my opinion, but one of the best live albums of the 70s was Frampton Comes Alive. That came out in 76 after this. You mentioned how Kiss was a big fan of the group Slade. Slade is a very good group to listen to also. In fact, not only should Kiss thank Slade for their success, Quiet Riot should. Quiet Riot's first two songs that made them big, Mama We're All Crazy Now and Come Off Illinois, were both Slade songs. So, and they weren't released that far apart. Slade was popular in the 70s. Quiet Riot comes out in the mid-80s. So it's not like the song was 30 years ago and they dug it up. It was still kind of fresh. Never went that big for Slade, but Quiet Riot did it a little bit louder, a little bit harder. And not to take away from what Quiet Riot did, but they could thank MTV for it too.
Yeah, and Slade is one of those bands that's underrated, and I never considered doing an album review of them, but I should add that to the list.
Just go back and look at a lot of their videos on YouTube, and you're like, and there's some other songs I've heard, like Goodbye to Jane was a song they did. Brady Fox redid on their as a song on one of their albums. They didn't release it, but a song they did. Just how many other bands were influenced by Slade when you look them up? Look them up on YouTube. If you're like me and you have an older brother who listened to it a lot, you're like, I remember hearing that from his room all the time. I was in the car with him when he played that. You hear these songs, or you've heard bands redo their songs. They were very inspirational. Look-wise, you got to remember it was England in the 70s. It's the only fair warning I'll give you on the clothes. It was England in the 70s. Just keep it at that. But yes, very good album. Kiss Alive was a very great album. Kind of made them the band they are today. I think if it wasn't for that album, they would have had the 3 albums and never been heard from again.
And even though the sales were good, it's still only gold status. This album never even hit platinum status.
Yeah, it was on the chart for 2 years. He said it was top 100 for 2 years and still couldn't get that high.
Yeah. Very interesting, but I'm glad I covered that. It's very influential for myself, and it's a good album to listen to. Once again, straight through. You don't need to pick out songs to listen to. The entire album is good. The solos are in there. The bass solo, you get the guitar solo, you get the drum solo. It's like being there. It's a 76 minutes compacted in to everything that you need, and you got to play it loud too.
And my 2 favorite Kiss songs are on there: Strutter and Deuce. First 2 songs on it. Boom, boom. Wore off the first part of that tape with those 2 all the time.
It is awesome, and I'm a fan of the song Cold Gin and Black Diamond. So it's very good stuff. All right, that's all I've got for this week for the album review. Anything else on sports, Andy?
No, that's kind of about it. Like I said, contracts are changing for TV networks on stuff coming up for hockey. So hockey fans, you're not going to find an NBC next year. You have to look up. I don't know if Turner Sports is going to come up with their own channel now, or if they're going to switch up between TBS and TNT all the time, how they'll do it with the hockey. We'll see how that works out. I haven't heard anything about them getting their own thing. It is owned by Turner Sports, which has always been a thing. Even with just the Braves game on TBS back in the day, it was Turner Sports. So is that going to kind of be between the 3? With them also televising the wrestling, basketball and hockey do overlap a lot for playoffs next year. So kind of with college basketball, you're going to see some of the first-round games for basketball and hockey be on True TV or whatever their other sister networks are. I don't know. We'll have to see. But very excited to see Turner Sports get a shot at this. And kind of glad it's not ESPN. And that's not a rip on ESPN, but they got so much other stuff. Some things we get lost in the shuffle. So I'm glad to see basketball on one channel, hockey, and stuff all being bounced around. That's kind of cool.
And also a reminder for amateur baseball, Townball fans, the Crow River League kicks off tomorrow. I did a midweek show on that. Crow River Valley League. All 14 teams are in action tomorrow on Sunday, May 2nd, to kick off the league. 7 games, 14 teams. All of them kick off at 2 p.m. first pitch, except for one game is 4 p.m. But afternoon games to start off the season. Hopefully the weather will hold, and should be fun season. Will kick off on normal. Last year everything was delayed, and the games, they had a shortened season and they started late. But now it'll be back to regular games. So if you have any requests or teams to follow or music requests, please put them in the comments section or contact us on a Facebook and Twitter page.
And do support those
That's all I've got.
And do support those town ball teams. Like we said with high school sports during the whole lockout thing. These guys are fun to go watch. It's 5 minutes down the road from where you live to see your hometown team play. Instead of fighting traffic to go downtown last minute, it's very little to get in. You still get a beer and a dog at these games. Have a good time. See your friends and family. Support these teams. I know, like with the Watertown team, you can buy their swag, buy a shirt or a hat or a jacket or something if you want. Go support these local guys too. They're your neighbors, for crying out loud. I mean, have fun, go have a good time. It's fun, and it's still real baseball. They don't fix the rules or anything else like that. It's still regular baseball, 90 feet, all this other stuff. It's not 410 to center field, but it's still fun to watch.
All right, everyone, have a good week. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Yep.